Welcome to our service from the Unitarian Society of Northampton and Florence. My name is Ed Olmsted. I'm the congregation's past president and a member of the Climate Action Group, etc. If you are new or returning after a time away, we're glad to see you. Please feel free to fill out a blue welcome card, which you can find in the offering plate later in the service. And I don't have one. It's about that size in the pews. There's a link to an online version in the chat. We'll put you on, there's the blue card, on our email list so you can receive information about all that we do. We strive to be a congregation that welcomes all people of all ages, races, religious beliefs, backgrounds, sexual orientations, gender identities, and abilities. We belong to the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and we are guided and inspired by its values and principles. Our values and principles move us to remember that those of us in the Pioneer Valley live on the unceded homeland of the Pecumtuck, Nonotuck, and West Nipmuc peoples. We acknowledge our responsibility to confront the legacies of dispossession and systemic racism that are part of our collective history, and we affirm and celebrate the many legacies that inspire us. The spiritual writing workshop scheduled for this morning has been canceled. We do have drawing materials and other ways to occupy hands on the table at the back of the hall. Restrooms are downstairs and reach through one of these doors here, and there's an elevator if you go through that door. You can take either the stairs or the elevator, and please return the same way you came. We are here to celebrate, to reflect, and to support one another. It is good to be together. And now we will begin our service.
There's magic all around us, in the rocks and trees, in the minds of people, deep hidden springs of magic. Strike the rock aright and find them where you will. Now I invite you to rise in body or in spirit, and join in saying the words to accompany lighting our chalice. And after that, we will sing hymn number 207, Earth Was Given as a Garden. Deep calls into deep, joy unto joy, light unto light. Let the kindling of this flame rekindle in us the inner light of love, of peace, and hope. Let us pledge to be bearers of the light wherever we are.
Good morning. And our book this morning is about having a good morning. And I'm curious if anybody here has a practice that they start the day with, whether it's a ritual or something you do to start your day. Ooh. There's a lot of hands up for those of you at home. This book is called The Way to Start a Day by Bird Baylor, and it's illustrated by Peter Parnell. If you want to come closer, like Lula's doing, you're welcome to, although I wonder if the screen might be the best way to see the pictures because they're pretty intricate, so hopefully you will be able to see them. The Way to Start a Day. The way to start a day is this. Go outside and face the east and greet the sun with some kind of blessing or chant or song that you made yourself and keep for early morning. When you feel the sun, you'll feel the song too. Just sing it. But don't think you're the only one who's ever worked this magic. People have always known how to greet the day. Didn't they chant at dawn in the sun temples in Peru? and leap and sway to Aztec flutes in Mexico, and drum sunrise songs in the Congo. I can almost hear these songs. And ring 1,000 small gold bells in China. Didn't the pharaohs of Egypt say the only sound at dawn should be the sound of songs that please the morning sun? They knew what songs to sing. People always seemed to know, and everywhere they knew what gifts the sun wanted. In some places they gave gold. In some places they gave flowers. In some places sacred smoke blown to the 4 directions. Some places feathers and good thoughts. Some places fire. But everywhere they knew to give something, and everywhere they knew to turn their faces eastward as the sun came up. Some people still know. When the first pale streak of light cuts through the darkness, wherever they are, those people make offerings and send strong messages to the sun. They know exactly how to start a day. Their blessings float on the wind over Pueblo cornfields in New Mexico, and you hear their morning songs in villages in Africa. They salute the sunrise ceremonially in the high, cold mountains of Peru. Today, long before dawn, they were already waiting in Japan with prayers, and they were gathering at little shrines in India with marigolds in their hands. They were bathing in the sacred Ganges River as the sun came up. And high on a mesa edge in Arizona, they were holding a baby toward the sun. They were speaking the child's new name so the sun would hear and know the child. It had to be sunrise, and it had to be the first sudden moment. That's when all the power of life is in the sky. Some people say there's a new sun every day, that it begins its life at dawn and lives for one day only. They say you have to welcome it. You have to make the sun happy. You have to make a good day for it. You have to make a good world for it to live its one day life in. And the way to start, they say, is just by looking east at dawn. When they look east tomorrow, you can too, and your song will be an offering. And you'll be one more person in one more place, at one more time in the world, saying hello to the sun, letting it know you're there. If the sky turns a color the sky never was before, just watch it. That's part of the magic. That's the way to start a day.
I wonder if some of you are planning to head north, try to see some of the eclipse. Yeah. Magic. I have a friend whose daughter is getting married during the period of total darkness. And then when they come out of it, they will be married. They will have their rings on their fingers. Now it's time for us to greet one another, say hello to everyone on Zoom. Lots of Zoom people this morning. Good morning, all you people on Zoom. And now turn and say hello to one another. Hi, everyone on Zoom. Jen Beeler, nice to see you. Naomi, who else is there? Hi, Georgia. Austin, it's good to see you. Mary Beth, good to see you. And Evelyn and Gil. Sally, Claire, Kamala, great to see you. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Sally. Gail, Herman, nice to see you. Catherine Nagel, lots of people on Zoom this morning. Eleanor, always good to see you. Wendla, hi Terry, hi Guile. Who else is there? Everyone else is working. It's wonderful to see you all. I've said hello to everyone who's working, I think. We have Julie Chandler, she's one of our new volunteers. You too can be a volunteer to help with our services in the morning. So it's great to see you all. I hope you have a wonderful week. Now we'll sing a song. We're going to sing a song to send everyone who's going to religious education on their way. We will sing you out. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you. Everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you. Everywhere you may go. So I have a brief reading from Thich Nhat Hanh, who said, "You carry Mother Earth within you. She is not just your environment. In that insight of interbeing, it's possible to have real communication with the earth. And this," he says, "is the highest form of prayer." And I also have a little bit of a prayer that is used, probably still used, in the community that he led in Plum Village in France. "Every time I step upon the earth, I will train myself to see that I am walking on you, my mother. Every time I place my feet on the earth, I have a chance to be in touch with you and with all your wonders. With every step, I can touch the fact that you are not just beneath me. I bow my head before you as I look deeply and recognize that you are present in me and that I am present in you." And now Dave Reutman has a social justice minute for us.
Good morning. Some of you may have read the words in the Beacon article about our March 10th benefit concert, where in the parlor room before the event, a Fiery Hope chorus member said they couldn't sing the words, "I feel just fine about voting." Well, the fact is that no matter how you feel about voting, and I respect how you feel, whatever that may be, this country faces a stark choice in the presidential election. One of the candidates has clearly stated policies that would create an authoritarian regime, using the military and criminal justice system against opponents, conducting massive deportations, using regulatory power to punish critics, and other policies detailed in speeches and in writing. Yes, in our two-party system, that does create a stark choice. So, what are we called to do? I'm going to tell you about two USNF The Vote actions as we continue our effort to preserve and strengthen democracy. First, on April 24th at 7 p.m., that's a Wednesday night, we're hosting a Zoom gathering to support the Movement Voter Fund. It would be great if all of you can come, but even more important is to invite your friends and relatives wherever they live. You've already done a lot to support this organization. That's really great. But now we're trying to broaden our outreach beyond our community here. So please help by sending an invitation soon to your friends and relatives. And we've prepared a template you can use or modify. We'll send that template to you if you email us at usnfthevote@uunorthampton.org. That's one word, usnfthevote. And that's being put in the chat now, usnfthevote@uunorthampton.org. That's how you can get this template to email. Or come see me after the service. And also we have got flyers down there with this information. So these folks are doing some of the best work to turn out voters who otherwise wouldn't vote. And we currently have a little over 40 people signed up, but we're hoping to double or triple that. So we also have postcards ready for you to send to registered voters of color in Virginia, and that information is in the Sunday Times. You can also get postcards to mail. Where did Joan go? Ah, there's Joan, from Joan O'Brien. The postcards will be up there. I see the box. Okay, so after the service. Or you could pick them up at Bill and Harriet Diamond's porch. And to stay informed about our actions, I hope you all do that. If you're not already on our mailing list, just send that email to usnfthevote, one word, at uunorthampton.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Every week at this time, we take a collection, an offering to support the good work of this congregation and organizations outside our walls that have been nominated by members of the congregation and winnowed down by the coordinating council. Your gifts, your generosity in so many forms makes all that we do possible. And our morning offering will now be given and very gratefully received. meditation is called A Meditation for Challenging Times by the Reverend Joan Javier Duval. Holy mystery, silent presence, uncertain bearer of the weight of it all. In these quiet moments we listen. We listen for the maybe still breathing, perhaps still whispering faintest sign of universal good. We listen between the cacophony of distractions pulling us towards untruth. We listen amidst the cries of desperation, of we've had enough. When will they stop killing my people? How much more will the waters rise? When will it be safe to return to my home? How much longer can I hang on? What will happen next? We listen and we wait through the tumult of these days. We seek assurance and the fulfillment of a promise made to ourselves, a promise made to those we have been stretched to call neighbor, a promise written and enshrined and yet unfulfilled. Help us to hang on, to hold on when all is in question and when all is in doubt. Help us to stay firm to our own commitments, our own promises. May we continue listening. May we keep watch. May we beckon love and justice and mercy with our own whispers, our own shouts, our own cries, until all know themselves as part of the circle of love. Amen. Let's take time together in silence. This is a reading from Howard Thurman. How good it is to center down, to sit quietly and see oneself pass by. The streets of our minds seethe with endless traffic. Our spirits resound with clashing, noisy silences, while something deep within hungers and thirsts for the still murmur and the resting lull. With full intensity we seek, ere thicket passes, a fresh sense of order in our living, a direction, a strong, sure purpose that will structure our confusion and bring meaning in our chaos. We look at ourselves in this waiting moment, the kinds of people we are, and the questions persist. What are we doing with our lives? What are the motives that order our days? What is the end of our doings? Where do we put the emphasis, and where are our values focused? And for what end do we make sacrifices? Where is my treasure? What do I love most? What do I hate most? And to what am I true? Over and over the questions beat upon the waiting moment. And as we listen, floating up through all the jangling echoes of our turbulence, there's a sound of another kind, a deeper note which only the stillness of the heart makes clear. It moves directly to the core of our being, and our questions are answered. Our spirits refreshed, we move back into the traffic of our daily round with the peace of the eternal in our step. How good it is to center down. And I invite you now to rise in body or spirit for hymn number 83, Winds Be Still. I think some of you learned that in Sunday school with different words, and you haven't forgotten the harmonies. Why spiritual practice? I think Howard Thurman answers that question a lot better than I can. Something in us hungers for the still moment, for a sense of order, a sense of connection to a greater whole, whether you call it Mother Earth or God or what Thurman calls the eternal, and for which Joan Duval has many names. Silent presence, uncertain bearer of the weight of it all. Or we just long and need to center, to notice what is, to develop some inner peace and inner calm. So last fall, I enrolled in an 8-month workshop that's run by the Shalem Institute in Washington, D.C. It's called Heart Longings, an Invitation to the Contemplative Path. And the workshop, the program has monthly facilitated meetings, workshops that focus on a particular practice or a set of practices. And then there's suggested reading, optional writing assignments, both group and individual spiritual direction. And my hope was to reinvigorate my own spiritual practice and make it more regular, which has not been entirely successful. But I have appreciated and learned from this experience in this workshop. And I've been really nourished by the trust and depth of sharing in the breakout sessions during the workshops and in the spiritual direction opportunities. There's both group and individual. So I'm sure you know there are many, many, many forms of spiritual practice. And if you grew up in a family that was active in a faith tradition, you probably learned about prayer. And that was the only form of spiritual practice I had ever heard of for most of my childhood. Some of us learned to pray as children. In my family, we said grace and a prayer before going to sleep. Grace was just for supper time or a Sunday dinner. And I said the one that said, now I lay me down to sleep, I pray the Lord my soul to keep. And then at the end, there was a recital of names. My parents, grandparents, siblings in birth order, our babysitter. And then it ended, God bless me. And when I was in 3rd grade in Sunday school, that was when we got our Bibles. The church gave us Bibles at the end of 3rd grade. And part of the program was that we had to memorize the 23rd Psalm, 8 years old, the 23rd Psalm and the Lord's Prayer. And so then I started saying the Lord's Prayer as part of my bedtime ritual. And I don't know when that stopped. Certainly wasn't happening when I was in junior high school. So 5th grade, maybe 6th. So several years ago, I bought a book called Secrets of Prayer, a Multi-Faith Guide to Creating Personal Prayer in Your Own Life. And I got it from the UUA bookstore. It's written by a woman named Nancy Corcoran, who has been a Catholic sister of St. Joseph's, for over 50 years. And it's very accessible, and it is very multi-faith and really open. And I learned recently that the same Sister Nancy Corcoran is also an active and supportive presence in PFLAG and in St. Louis groups that specifically work with trans individuals and families of trans kids. And there was an interview that was printed in 2022 where she said about her work with this family trans support group. For the first 6 months, the only thing I said at the meeting was pass when it was my turn to speak. And finally, I was so touched by their stories that I shared I was a sister of St. Joseph, and that I thought of this meeting as a holy hour because I was learning about unconditional love, which the parents demonstrate in the face of societal and church rejection. She said she believed her presence brings hope to parents that society and the church will someday make the world a better place for their children. And she said her hope for the church is humility and flexibility in light of scientific research. So Sister Nancy speaks of hope, and she writes that prayer is hope. Hope that we are not alone, hope that there is meaning to life, hope because we do not know for sure. Prayer takes many forms, including moving, reading, studying, being present, being silent, and it serves many purposes: to praise, to express gratitude, to ask for help or forgiveness, to bless, to mourn, to cry in rage, to lament, or simply to be. And I have to tell you, she tells a story from her youth. She says, one of the most prayer-filled experiences in my growing up years happened while walking alone to high school during my freshman year. As I climbed the hill near my house, I passed a Unitarian church, which I was forbidden to enter, that had an enclosed bulletin board outside. Each week, a different one-sentence sermon would appear. If there is no struggle, there is no progress, Frederick Douglass. There are two ways of spreading light: to be the candle or the mirror that reflects it, Edith Wharton. Religious ends are in need of our deeds, Abram Joshua Heschel. And she says, this was the first time I understood prayer could be done anywhere and any time, and I could see the sign the entire time I was walking up the hill, and think about the quotation and ponder what it might mean. So most of the practices in the workshop that I've been taking include a substantial amount of silence. That's contemplative practices really are silent practices. And I think I know many of you practice some form of meditation, at least like me some of the time. Some of you are more regular probably than I am. And possibly the purest form of meditation, definitely not the easiest, is meditation on the breath. And that was the first form I learned at a mindfulness a series on mindfulness meditation through the Cambridge Adult Education program. So you sit in a comfortable but alert position, breathe calmly, focus on the feeling of your breath as it flows in and out. And you notice when your focus has wandered and your mind has drifted to other things, and gently bring attention back to the breath. You might want to try that for a moment. Put your feet on the floor if you're comfortable doing that. Close your eyes if you're comfortable. And just breathe normally through your nose, noticing your breath. Noticing the breath as it flows in and out of your nostrils. Notice your belly rising and falling. Now bring yourself gently back to this room. And I invite you to rise when you're ready and join in singing the meditation on breathing. And if you look in the hymnal, you can see there are many parts to this. You can pick whatever part you would like to sing. There's another form of meditative practice that is called Lectio Divina in the Christian tradition. It was developed by Saint Benedict in the 4th century. And it is a way of meditating or praying with a text. He, of course, used scripture, but other texts can work also. I sometimes will take a poem or a passage from a writer whom I find inspiring. And the first step in this is to read the passage very slowly, preferably aloud. And then you let it sink in and you read it again slowly. And this time, someone used the word, see what shimmers for you. See if you notice a word or a phrase or an image that jumps out. And the next step is to sit in silence, holding that word or phrase or image in your mind. Maybe repeating it, just seeing where it leads you. This is very different from the mindfulness meditation where you bring your focus back. This is a practice of opening to see where the image takes you or the word takes you. And then the Benedictines then pray aloud or silently, but using words, whatever prayer comes from this experience. And some people can also use it as a practice for journal writing, a prompt for journal writing. So there's a passage on the back of the order of meeting, and it's also going to be on the screen. And it's just a little snippet from the passage I read earlier from Howard Thurman. And you might want to try it. We can just try it for a minute. You can center yourself. Again, put your feet on the floor if that's comfortable. And read the passage to yourself very slowly. See what shimmers for you, what word or image arises. We'll just take a minute and you can see where it might take you. What you really need is to have Ellen in your back pocket. Because of course music is such an important part of spiritual practice. There are also embodied forms of prayer, mindful walking, dance, tai chi, some forms of yoga. And communal worship is a spiritual practice, as are singing, chanting, drumming, drawing, and painting can be also. And then as we began the service with the story, many practices that connect us with the earth and the seasons, greeting the sun each morning, I love that idea, observing the moment the sun sets, bird watching, simply being still in the woods. The last chapter of Nancy Corcoran's book is titled, "To Learn About Prayer, You Need to Pray." To learn about meditation, you need to meditate. To learn about and grow with and grow from any spiritual practice, you need to practice, preferably on a regular basis. And that, for many of us, is a challenge. The last session of the workshop I have been taking, which happened to be yesterday, the group was asked at the end to name what for each of us was an important part of their daily practice or their practice, and doing it regularly was one response. Others were openness, humility, stillness, patience, and community. Over and over, community. I had a very wise and wonderful teacher in seminary. Her name was Margaret Benefield. She happens to now be the executive director of the Shalem Institute. And her particular interest was and still is a contemplative and spiritual approach to organizational management and leadership. And in the course I took with her, we took different approaches. Some of them were from Harvard Business School gurus, and some were from religious or spiritually based practitioners. And we applied their methods or their practices to the situation we had in our church or organization. And one practice we used was the Clearness Committee, which is a Quaker method of prayerful discernment in groups. Margaret later became my spiritual director, and we worked together for several years. She is someone who helped me reflect on and process many of my experiences during my internship before I came here, and experiences in my first several years of ministry here. So, and she was very helpful. She's a wise woman. But when I would bring up with her, she was my spiritual director, bring up my struggles with regular practice, Margaret would say, "Pray as you can, not as you can't. Pray as you can, not as you can't. Practice as you can, not as you can't." And if you're lapsed or have never tried it before, you can start by bringing just a moment or two of intentional quiet and noticing each day. A moment of noticing, of pausing, a moment of breathing mindfully, and maybe then a word or a moment of gratitude for what is. And then I wanted to end with a body prayer that I just learned yesterday, but I always change things. So, cup your hands in front of you. And receive into those hands something or someone that is very dear to you. And hold them, hold that there in the warmth of your hands. Bring it to your heart. Let it share in universal love. And when you're ready, release it. Release it to the mystery, to hope, to wonder. And then bow in gratitude. Let's hold us all in our hands. Bring all of us to our hearts. Open and let us go. Surrender to the mystery, the hope, universal love, and bow in gratitude. May we notice, may we listen, may we beckon love and justice and mercy, and may we be grateful. It is good to center down. Our final hymn is number 112, Do You Hear? I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing. Please be seated. We carry within us times of quiet so that we may feel the pulse of our connection to all beings, that we may hear the whistler of earth in our bones. May we draw strength from those times, and may we use our hands, our heads, and heart in service to heal hurt and to spread light. Go in peace.